Ooh, get the heater on, Jimmy. Anyway, started work on the front end of Project Charlie. One fork's already out. I do them one at a time. But a problem has ensued. The end bolts, I'm presuming this one's going to be the same, but the end bolts are traditionally made of cheese anyway. But somebody has utterly mullered it. It looks like they actually put it in with a chisel. So the correct size Allen, not a prayer. The next one up, not a prayer. I haven't got any decent metal cutting drills, but Uncle Barnyard next door is going to drill the heads off the bolts. As soon as the heads are off the bolts, the damper rod will release, and then we can get the threaded section of the bolt out. Probably going to have to do it on that one again, and then we can fit the new seals and bushes. But yeah, other than that, front end work, I've got a new fairing stay, so we'll have the clocks off. Drop the oil cooler. Oh, hang on. And put the new fairing stay on and what have you. And while we've got the switchgear and stuff apart, we'll get some oil down the contacts and what have you. Oh, it appears that the clutch switch has left its contact behind. As far as I know, and I can certainly remember mine not doing it, the side stand switch on these never worked. If you put the side stand down and put it in gear, it'd still run. So I don't know, maybe it's not wired in for all markets, who knows. But other than that, the back end is all buttoned up. I've got to bleed the brake. The other brake caliper's up there ready to have the seal kit put in. Uncle Maz, Throttle God Andy, is blasting the other caliper for me, and he's getting the plastic pistons out because I can't get them out. So he's going to chuck them in the machine shop, I think, and get them out. The only other thing I've noticed is the throttle handle barrage. Come on. You have an Allen bolt that goes in there, which then locates into there, and it's just a little bit more insurance of the handlebar not moving. I can either source another handlebar, which is probably the best option, or probably stick an Allen in and then JB weld or something that bit, because if it's clamped to the forks and stuff, there's never really any great pressure there. But it's evidence that the bike was dropped on this side. We know it's been dropped, it's not an issue. So yes, work recommencing on Project Charlie. And in the meantime, while Uncle Barnyard is doing that, I'm going to have to get the master cylinder off the Aprilia, because I've had mole grips. This is the end of the pressure switch, and in theory should be loose, but I've had mole grips and all sorts on it and it won't move. So I'm going to take it off, put it in the vise and see if I can chisel that out, and then I'm going to unbolt the existing line because we've got the proper length line coming. And then what I'm going to do is just measure the front line on the Aprilia, because I've got a sneaky suspicion that other line is actually long enough to replace the front line, and then we'll have braided front and rear. So yeah, so that's what we're on with at the moment. So I'm going to show you the mullered bolt on the fork now, if I can get the camera to focus, etc, etc. So got the other fork in the vise in the shed, and I don't know whether you'll be able to see it, but let's stick the camera up its juff and you might be able to see the bolt. No idea if you saw that, But yes, mullered. But yeah, not bad. It's just that's as soon as that damper rod is loose, we can split the fork, clean it all up, and put the new seals and bushings in. I've got me damper rod holding set up. Actually, the small damper rod holding tools work quite well on this one. I've got a selection, as you can see. That one's far too big, that's for bigger forks, but yeah, that one works. That jams into the damper rod. But to be honest, once the head of the bolt is done, it should just come apart anyway. And then when we reassemble, damper rod holding bolts don't have to be super tight because they're made of cheese. So you put a bit of thread lock on it, tiny bit of thread seal, a little sealing washer, and basically you just nip it up, and then that's alright. The rest of it, I can't really foresee any problems. There was a little bit of rustage in here, which is perfectly normal. What usually happens is there's a little steel spring clip that sits above the fork, and if you've got a dust seal that's very slightly leaky, moisture obviously gets past it and starts to rust the spring clip. But they're alright, they can all be cleaned up. It's just surface corrosion. In the meantime, while all that's going on, I might get the old whizzy wheels on the Aprilia adjusters, and then we'll see. We've cleaned one of the brake doodah Ujima flips up. That's one of the spare calipers. So yeah, plenty to get on with, and I've got a day off today, so I can have a play, and I might just go out and find a calf and have an early lunch or something like that. Yes. Good news, the bottom bolt with the aid of Captain Dugga comes straight out on that one. The end is still mullered, but it got enough grip on it to do it. So yes, I did drain the fork, but it appears to have some more oil in it. Anyway, wood's absorbent. Tasty. Hash browns for breakfast today. Anyway, I thought, for safety and less fucking around in the future, basically, I'd order a pair of new bolts and washers. The thread is a funny size. It's not a standard metric thread. I suppose being a part of its use is to retain oil, so there's a fine thread on it. I put the Honda part number into eBay, and it brought up a Lambretta engine and some shonky perfume. So Lambretta, dickhead. eBay was a no-no. It's possibly shower suspension, more than likely. It was bringing up shower suspension bolts, but for Harley Davidson. And when I had a quick look at the picture, the threads look completely differently. They look just like standard metric. So I went on to, God, I'm going to get the name wrong. Anyway, I put it down here. I went on to the Dutch website. Oh, what's it called? CNMSL pornup.com. I put it down there. I've had loads of parts off them in the past, and you drag your testicles through your nostrils to pay for the postage, but it's worth it because they have microfiches on shitloads of bikes that you can't find microfiches for in the UK. So even as a reference system, it's brilliant. Anyway, 2 bolts, 2 washers on the way. Brace yourselves, 30 quid. The bolts were nowhere near that. and with the washers nowhere near, I think it was like 12 quid for the pair. The rest is postage, and you, like I say, you just got to drag it through your arse. And these aren't listed on David Silver Spares. Other fork damper bolts are, but for older bikes, and the thread is more coarse. So anyway, the correct ones are coming now. No doubt a few of you will comment, oh, my Uncle Bob could have made you some of them, or why didn't you just use blue tack and horse cum, or something like that. No, we're doing it properly, because when the fork seals want replacing again, it's just going to make it easier for whoever does them. In the meantime, penises. What I might do, Uncle Barnyard he's busy at the moment, but he is going to drill that other bolt out for me, which is great. The other one came out fine, so I can fit the seal kit to the one I've got split. That's no problem. But obviously it's going to be, I shall estimate 2-3 days for those bolts to come, which is no worry at all, because it's like it's Monday and I'm not going to get a massive amount done anyway. Flatulence. Oh, I need another hash brown. Some people say that hash browns have no place on the British breakfast table. I disagree, because a good hash brown is very good indeed. A bad one will put you off for life. But these are very nice. These are Iceland's own, and they've got like a hint of onion. They're very good. Highly recommended. So what I might do, tasty food. In the meantime, dribble down myself, is get the clocks off, and then I can go through the electroconical connections, and put the fairing stay on. I'll do that, and I might just give the, don't know whether to give the oil cooler just a quick eBay resto with the spray can while we're here. That's if I've got any black enamel paint. If not, doesn't matter, because it's hidden anyway. Yeah. So until the fork bolts come, that's me lot for now. Yeah. An interesting thing. Oh god, I just knocked myself on the bike. An interesting thing about NC24, NC21 forks, and what's the other one? Early Honda CBR400 all had the same forks. The left hand fork is different to the right hand, because the left hand has their version of an early anti-dive on it, and the stanchions are different lengths. If you don't know, trumpage, and you mix them up when you go to reassemble the forks, you really do have a terrible time. And also, it's very common for people to put the forks back together wrongly. In the fork you have a damper rod which goes in the tube. At the end of the damper rod, basically that goes in the stanchion and pops out the bottom of the stanchion. At the end of that you then have 3 spring washers and an aluminium cup, and a lot of people naturally think the cone of the cup, it's cone shaped, yes, should point downwards. It doesn't. It points the wrong way, and I have seen several people take forks apart and that cone has been the wrong way. So God knows how they even got the damper rod to tighten. They must have absolutely mullered it, or just got lucky. So that's another little factual fact for the NC24, etc, etc. So yes, I'm just in the process of getting the oil cooler pulled from the frame, so we can change the frame over, because this one is broken here and it just saves welding and stuff. That can be repaired. We've got the other part, but it's just easier to replace it. And then we've got a spare, which we, fingers crossed, hopefully know is straight and good, because we don't know that one is. If it's been down the road, which we know it has, there is a chance, you know, these do. If it's had force on enough to break, it's chances are it's bent. This could be Uncle Barnyard. It could be Uncle Barnyard. It's Uncle Barnyard, Uncle Barnyard. What are we doing, Uncle Barnyard?
Drilling.
Oh yes, let's have a look at the job in hand.
Going in now here.
Yes, bonus extra content.
Shut the door, so I've got the heater on.
Oh, have you? Does the wife know?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get a copyright strike for that one.
Right.
Yes, Uncle Barnyard is going to drill the bolt out the end, and yes, we'd better stop this before we get a copyright strike for Aha, Take On Me, used for review purposes only. Yes, the gasket for the Aprilia has come from Italy. It's only took about a month. It was stuck in the Netherlands customs. Yes, obviously they'd put on the package it contained 17 kilos of cocaine. So anyway, that's here so I can do a bit on the Aprilia. I'm just running Phyllis outside for a moment to charge the battery. Yes. I'm going to continue with the forks when the bolts have arrived, and then they can be popped apart, everything put on, put back together again. In short order. So yes, I will continue with the forks later. Yes. So as you can see, we've got the damper rod out. It's alright, it's been rolling around this floor. So what I've got to do now is get some mole grips or something and just get the bolt of voltage out. But the damper rod obviously fell out when Barnyard Engineering Services drilled the head of the bolt out. And we've been doing some carefulling because we're doing it just gradually. The idea being to weaken the head enough that we could just punch that through. So that's what we've done. So the bolt seat, sealing washer and all that lot, that's intact, but there's new bolts and washers on the way. And amazingly, I've already had the notification that they've been posted. So now all I've got to do is do the old little slide hammer trick and pop the seal out of this, because we need to do bushings and seal. My only concern is only this damper rod fell out. Now on the end of the rod should be 3 sort of crushy spring washery, wavy washery things, and an inverse cone, because it acts sort of like a spacer as well. And unless it's in there and hasn't come out, we really need to source them, because otherwise this bolt goes too far into the rod, because as you can see, the threads are already partially blocking one of the oil holes. And I might be wrong, but that to me looks wrong. So if there's no aluminium cone and washers in there, we're going to have to get some, because otherwise the fork isn't going to work right. So yes, we'll see. I'm going to put you down now and do the old slide hammery trick, so you probably won't see a lot, but you might see enough. You've seen me do this before with the ZX10. Hi. Are we ready? We're ready, boys and girls. I was hoping this is the one I'd actually already took the clip out of. There we go, it's coming. Yep, they're coming. There we go. So you've got your oil seal, a seating washer there, and then top bush, bottom bush. Now I couldn't feel any play in the forks, but that doesn't mean to say that they're not worn out. And hopefully down here we've got the cone and washers. Let's see. Yeah, get fucking on everywhere. Which, you know, is expected. I must get some kitty litter or something. Yes, anyway, have we got the cone and washers? Well, we've got the cone. and what happens is this cone sits on the end, but all this is very gritty and shitty, so I'm going to clean all this up. I think one side, it could be the other fork, goes that way and one side goes that way, I'm not sure. Yeah, anyway, we'll clean all that up, and I've actually got some washers. Because at the minute, until I get a torch down here, I can't actually see if there is any in there. But I'm going to jizz a load of brake clean in there and thoroughly clean all the old oil out of this, and then go from there. Also, the pivot for the anti-dive is one there. That big bracket I showed you earlier, it bolts here and here. That's the activation lever. So it bolts in there and it bolts in here. Now in here is a needle roller bearing. This is a little insert, as you can see. And so we'll take that out and we'll clean the bearing out, just make sure that's good. So that's where we're at. But I'm going to pull apart the other fork, and then I'm going to put sort of everything back in each fork. I mean, I could do seals, bushes and stuff now, but I can't put the forks back together until we've got the bolts. So, I mean, I can pull them apart and just leave everything to one side in their appropriate pairs, because this sanction for the left fork is about 10mm shorter than the other to allow for the stroke of the anti-dive, so they cannot be mixed up in any way, shape or form. So yes, so you've seen the internals of the forkage, or at least you've seen some of it. So yeah, my next job, try and get this bolt out at the end. It should be okay. Oh yeah, it's coming out with a slight tease of my fingers. Sounds familiar. So basically what we did, Barnyard Engineering Service, you can see it's not a normal bolt, it's a fine thread. And as I said, I couldn't find any, but basically we just got rid of the head and then gave it a light tappage and everything came out. And then we haven't damaged the sealing surface or anything like that down that end. So, gloves off. Yes, I have all gloves. I'm going to get all this lot cleaned up. I might put the damper rod and the cone and the washer in the aqua jiggler, degrease it in the aqua jiggler, and then we know it's clean, and that will clean out all the oil, little oil passages and stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to be on with. And I haven't touched the Aprilia yet because it's I don't know, it's kind of on. I should have been cracking on with the VFR, but got sort of distracted by an Italian mistress. I could whack her on the side stand and put the proper cover gasket on, but I've got to clean the silicone off that I put on it. I did happen to notice on the because I've got the engine service manual for this as well, the Rotax manual, that they don't put the cover on by hand. There's actually a tool, and it's only a handle, hand grabbing gestures, that basically where that little cover is in the middle, you pull that out and you put this handle in, and then you offer it up with the handle, because obviously you're trying to get it overpower the magnets. I find that if you're sort of lining up all right anyway, there is a locating dowel at the bottom. It sort of goes in all right, and it doesn't go in with so much force that you can't move the gasket if you need to move the gasket a little bit afterwards. But hey ho, you know, these things are set to try us. Yes. I might have enough footage for a video now. Oh, don't worry about it. There's just a little bit of muck on it. We have a problem. I've stripped this fork down, and I said they should have some crush washers on the end of the cone. It's a good job I looked, because this side doesn't. The other side, which is a totally conventional fork without the anti-dive, does have the washers. There's 3 washers that will sit on top of this cone. and I think it's 2 normal and 1 wavy. So when we split the other one, we must make sure that they're there. But everything else is cock on. The spring is there, and that goes back, in this case, tight windings down. Some bikes it's tight windings up, which is why it's always handy to have a Haynes or something like that. Anyway, a slight disaster, which I've probably just given away, has befallen me, because I ordered the bushings and the seals and all that lot quite a while ago, and obviously got distracted with the Aprilia and what have you, because I'm hopeless. But I've lost them. I've lost the seals, I've lost the bushings, and I've lost the fork oil. Only kidding! Yes, here we are. New dust seals and oil seals. New clips. These are the ones where I'm going to have to get a Dremel in the fork bottoms to clear out the rust. These rust, and then they leave surface rust behind in the groove where they sit. So it's dead easy to clean, just a little Dremelage and a wire brush, and they will be spotless, and it will open up the groove properly for these to clip in, because these basically retain the seal. These sit on top of the seal and retain it from the uppy downy movement. So we've got some fork bushes as well. Let's have a look. Oh, and look, and there's a little tub of proper red rubber grease to aid fitment of both the dust seal and the fork seal. I'm going to use my patented fork seal driver, which is basically a bit of PVC pipe which will sit over the seal, the flat part of the seal, and then we use a slide hammer motion to put it back. Anyway, let's have a look at the bushes of bushingness. One-handed unboxing. Yes, and here's me realising that an 8-year-old child the other year made $23 million on eBay. Anyway, oh, they're the bottoms. Sorry. They're probably the tops. Oh, I don't know. These could be bottoms, actually. They look fairly substantial, but they're nice. And so in the other box, we must have the other bushings. And if these are larger, as in diameter, then these are the top ones. Oh, they're bottoms. Yeah, bottoms are thinner because they sit in this groovage here, and then top ones sit in the top of the lower part of the fork, if you see what I mean. You have to basically drive them home after you've seated this. So you put all the damper rod and everything together, obviously not the spring, put the damper rod through, the cone, any washers, all that bollocks, and then you feed that into the bottom part, you know, put your bottom bushing on, feed that into the lower fork. You can bolt it up at that stage. By the way, the hex on the damper rod on this bike is 24mm, and a good way to do it, get yourself a 24mm bolt and either weld an extension on it or ram it into a socket and then use extensions, because they don't have to be super duper gorilla tight. It's literally just retaining the rod. This is how the bolts get mullered, and then when that's in, before obviously you put the seal in, you then replace the bush, and there can be a little buggery shittery to get in, but the tiny little bit of grease around them. It's to stop lateral movement. It's to stop the fork doing that and that while it's going up and down, because if the bushes are worn, you'll blow seals like nobody's business, and I don't mean blow seals like a Norwegian sailor. So that's what we use, and there can be buggers to get in. They can take some gentle taperation, but these must sit flush to the seal surface, so that these can't stand proud and the seal go on it, otherwise the seal won't go down all the way and you won't get the clip on. You'll soon know, because once you make that mistake once, you don't do it again. And there's also some fork oil, and the standard fork oil is 10 weight, which it will be fine with. So yes, these can go back in their boxes for now. I can fit the lower one now. Can't fit the top ones yet, and I can't fit dust seals or oil seals. The clips are okay. They're going to be greased before they're put in. I'm going to put a layer of protective grease in, and it will help keep the water out the top end of the forkage as well. James, use English. This basically sits on top of the bush, so this will go on the bush. You can actually seat the bush with this, and it's quite easy to do. That goes before the seal, so you put the seal on top of this and then the clip on top. On this bike, on some bikes, the seal will go in and then one of these will go in and then the clip, but in this case, I've had a look on the parts microfiche and all that bollocks, this goes in first. So yeah, so I hope that's made sense. So that's the last sort of major job on the VFR, was to get the front end get the front end done. Obviously it requires tyres and we've got to wait for the brakes to finish to be refurbed, but it's little jobs now, like little jobs, and I've got to plumb the tank, vacuum hoses in and stuff like that. I've still got to change the cradle. We've been out for celebratory cake for Barnyard Engineering Services. So yes, that's roughly where I am at the minute. Steps in the right direction, it has to be said, and that's a good thing, because you know what my jobs usually go like: 1 forward, 18 back. But yeah, it's getting there. It's going to make a good bike actually. It's pretty tidy, even though, you know, this is the risk we take with used bikes. Especially of this age, guaranteed at some point they've probably been down the road, if it's been a novice rider or whatever, guaranteed to be dropped. These are quite often people's first big bikes. You know, I mean, I'm tippy-toe on the Aprilia and it's got fairly squishy suspension, and I am tippy-toe on that, but it's so light compared to the ZX10. It's just a different thing to handle. So yeah, well, that's where we are. Now, shall I end this video here, or shall I wait for the bolts to come in for the forks, and then we can film putting the forks in and the front wheel back and all that lot? Yes, I'll probably do that. Put you there. I may edit that bit out. No, you know I won't. Anyway, folks, I've just put those glorious new seals and bushes. When I looked at the bottom bush, and there's nothing wrong with looking at bushes, boys and girls, I do it quite a lot, is that I thought this looks taller and slightly different diameter, bigger than the one I've taken off. You can't sort of instantly tell visually, you know I can't concentrate. I just put the new bushes next to the old bushes. Now there was no movement in that fork because I gave it a bloody good wiggle beforehand. The seals have definitely seen better days, but no idea how long they'd been fitted. So I'm not particularly worried about reusing the old bushes, because there is no play in there at all. There's actually very insignificant wear. They were probably replaced last time the seals were done. So I did a quick dimensions check. Yes, that is the size of my penis. That's more like it. So I did a quick dimension check, and the seals and bushes which have come in, which I ordered, are bigger. They are bigger, and a quick check, I think therefore an NC30. Now I've just rechecked the eBay listing that when I bought them, and it is listed as an NC24, you know, 1980 whatever it was when they were first made, 87, something like that. They only ran the model for about 3 years before the NC30 came out, 2 to 3 years, and the 21, same story before. A very, very common mistake with getting spares for the VFR400 NC24 is that people will list, manufacturers will list, is just VFR400, and it will say fits NC24, and this is exactly what has happened. However, I've just gone on to Wemoto, I've ordered new seals and what have you. It's not a big issue because I have a very, very sneaky suspicion that at some point in the future there will be an NC30 in the shed. Probably not mine, although I would like one. Probably not mine, but I've got a strange feeling Uncle Stephen may end up with one. You know, after he's ridden the 24, the 30 is the next super logical step, and it was not a vastly better bike, but they just improved it everywhere a little bit. It's sort of NC24 plus VAT and shipping. So I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't an NC30 winging its way to the shed in the next couple of years. I might even be tempted to sell a couple of bikes and get one, but then I'd be restricted to one bike, which isn't a heartbreak. I've loved them. I've loved them. I've owned several VFR400s. I've owned a 24. I've owned RC30. I wish. NC30. Although if I win the lottery, I am buying an RC30, an NR750, a Ducati 916 again, probably a 748, and what was it called? The special they did a few years ago, Desmo Decidi. Max Norton. Yes. Oh, we're having an extensive motorcycle collection. Brough Superior. Oh yes. But not the old one. It'll be the new one, because a friend of mine rode a Brough Superior. He was going to buy one when they were not so big money, and the people at the National Bike Museum actually let him ride one. And he rode it and he went, no, glad I didn't buy it, didn't ride like anything like he thought. So yeah, so yeah, that's what's happened. So I'm not unhappy about it. It's an extremely common mistake with the VFRs for people to get NC30 parts mixed up with any other. Some people don't know a 24 and a 21 existed, so it is a common mistake. I looked on David Silver, and for the original Honda seals, just for a pair, one dust seal, one oil seal is 30 quid. So we've gone for Slinky Glide, because I've used Slinky Glide seals before. I've used Pyramid Part seals before, all from like eBay and Wemoto. I've gone with Wemoto this time. And what else have I ordered? Oh, I've ordered an oil filter for the Honda. And then that's it. I'm just going to now wait for the parts to come in. So the next part of this fractured video will be when the bolts are here, the seals are here, and then we can just get on with the forks, get them back in, get the front fairing stay changed, which I do believe is behind me, I think. Yes, it is. It's behind me, and I've given it a very quick eBay. Looks better. Doesn't have to be super immaculate. And then we can get on with it, and we can get the front end built up. I need to check wheel bearing condition at the front, but the rears look new, so I'm hoping somebody's got a metal splinter bastard I'm hoping somebody's done the fronts. I shall soon check by a feel. I shall get my finger in and just feel it around, and any notchiness or anything like that at all, they're going to be replaced. So yeah, so it's coming along, but as you all know, I am extremely impatient when I want to crack on with something, and I've got the parts. I like to just get stuck in and get it done. But in this case, no, we're not. Well, I'm going to wait for all the parts to come in, just do the job in one go, and hopefully by that time I'll have the other caliper back, so we can build up the two front calipers, because I've still got the beautiful TRK rebuild kits here. We'll do that, and then that will be front end complete, front and rear brakes bled, oil and filter change, plugs look fine, and then it can go back together, and then it's, apart from tyres, it's practically done, which will be great, because it means Uncle Steve will have his bike for sort of the end of spring, with any luck. I'm hoping parts and stuff don't take like any longer than a week. They shouldn't. They really shouldn't. They should all be here by the end of the week, because today's Monday, because I got Monday off. So we're just going to go from there. So yes, so that's the plan. Plan? Never plan.